Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're going on one of the wildest mythological journeys I think we've ever covered.
Oh, absolutely.
We're tracing a single divine entity known as Mehr, or Mitra, or Mithras, across, what, 3,000 years?
At least. And from the plains of ancient Iran all the way to, the barracks of the Roman legions, it's an incredible story.
It's a total metamorphosis.
It is. This is a figure that changes its job description, its whole portfolio, and most
Mm.
dramatically changes gender as it travels thousands of miles.
And that's the core hook. Right. The absolute shocker for anyone listening has to be that we're looking at a deity who might have started as this radiant, maybe even female or gender-neutral force of justice,
In the Iranian war.
and then ends up as the fully masculine, muscular, bull-slaying warrior god Mithras that Roman soldiers worshipped. I mean, that's a complete theological overhaul.
It is, and that's the paradox we're here to solve. How does a figure go through such, seismic shifts from Iran to India, then to Rome, and still keep a recognizable core identity?
Beat it does somehow.
It does. Our sources show that the figure consistently represents illumination, truth, covenant, and cosmic order. The external shell changed, but the actual function of being a moral guarantor, that didn't.
Exactly. So our mission in this deep dive is to give you the shortcut to understanding the deity's ancient origins, dig into that really surprising gender history, and then connect the dots to their undeniable symbolic relationship with the wider Mediterranean world, including early Christianity.
And to do that, to really understand the continuity, we have to start at the absolute foundation, back in ancient Iran,
Okay, so where do we begin?
with the name itself. The essential meaning is not really theological at first. It's linguistic and almost transactional. The root of Mitra in Old Iranian literally means contract.
A contract.
A contract, a covenant, a binding agreement. That's the core.
So if the name literally means contract,
Bruh.
how does the sun or light get tied into this moral job description?
That's where the power comes from. Mehr is fundamentally the protector of moral order, of truthfulness, and social harmony. Think of it this way. A contract is only useful if someone is watching to make sure it's upheld, right?
Sure, an enforcer.
Mehr is the divine witness and enforcer. And the association with light is crucial because light reveals truth. It exposes deceit. It represents ethical illumination,
So he's the ultimate moral judge.
the supreme moral judge. That reframes the whole concept, doesn't it? Mehr isn't just a weather god who rises in the morning. He's the cosmic assurance that agreements between people, between communities, will be honored.
Right, that duty also ties him into cosmic balance then, the seasons and all that.
Precisely. We know he was honored on Mehruz, which was the first day of autumn, so he's the force safeguarding harmony, whether that harmony is between two people or within the entire cycle of the universe.
What's fascinating to me is that Mehr existed within this older sacred structure, this ancient Iranian triad that was around even before Zoroastrianism was formalized.
This triad gives us the initial framework. You have Ahura Mazda, who is the ultimate force of wisdom and creation.
The top god.
Right. Then you have Anahita, who is associated with the life-giving waters, fertility, healing.
Wait, Anahita, the goddess of the waters.
Yeah.
I love that. It grounds the whole moral order, not just in abstract ideas, but in physical needs, like
Yeah.
having water.
It does. And the third member is Mitra, or Mehr, representing sunlight, covenant, and justice. This framework shows that Mehr was a core, inseparable moral force from the very beginning.
So visually, what are we looking at?
Radiance. Gold, red, orange, and powerful animal symbols like the lion and the horse, which represent strength and, movement toward the light. That's the foundation.
Okay, that's the foundational state. Now let's get to the incredible shift.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We know the Roman Mithras is the absolute epitome of masculinity, the heroic warrior, the bull slayer.
Oh, yeah.
Yet there's substantial scholarly evidence that points to the earliest Iranian reacher being either originally female or at the very least highly gender neutral with profound feminine associations.
That is just a staggering 3,000-year gender transformation. What's the evidence for that early fluidity?
It comes in about three forms. First, there's archaeology. Scholars like Henri Paul Frankfurt have identified numerous female solar figures in early Iranian and Central Asian art.
So the sun was seen as female in that region at one point.
It seems so, which, flies in the face of what most of us think of when we imagine sun gods, usually masculine, like Apollo.
Right, the Greek and Roman model.
Exactly. And second, comparative mythology actually supports this. John Pouvel noted that in many older Indo-European traditions, the sun is predominantly female while the moon is male.
So the Iranian tradition might have just been following that older pattern.
A pattern that later societies, like Rome, completely inverted. But the most surprising clue, for me at least, is the linguistic one.
The language itself.
Yes. The Old Iranian word Mitra is grammatically neuter.
Neuter, so neither masculine nor feminine.
Correct. And this linguistic fluidity was like an open door. Scholars argue that because the name was fundamentally the abstract concept of the contract, a neuter noun, it allowed the gender assigned to the deity to just shift across cultures without breaking the original meaning.
So the grammar of the original language basically gave the deity permission to change genders 3,000 years later. That's an incredible legacy.
It really is.
Okay, so let's trace the three major transformations that got us to that muscular Roman hero.
The first big shift happens during the Zoroastrian reform. As the religion started to centralize, especially under the Achaemenid Empire, there was this drive to simplify the pantheon and, focus on Ahura Mazda.
Okay.
And in this process of theological streamlining, the deity's earlier feminine attributes just became ambiguous. And then, increasingly, masculine pronouns start showing up in the texts.
That sounds like a pattern we see everywhere. As patriarchal societies centralize, powerful goddesses or fluid deities often get simplified or, transformed into masculine figures that fit the new male power structures.
Absolutely. Then comes the second shift, with the Vedic India migration. When these Indo-Iranian religious ideas move east, Mitra becomes fully masculine.
No ambiguity left.
None. He gets paired with the deity Varuna, forming this powerful Mitra-Varuna dyad. Here, the gender is firmly male, fitting with Indo-Aryan societal norms, but the function is still the same, upholding cosmic order, or ikka.
And then we get to the third and most radical transformation, the Roman Mithras.
This is the peak of the metamorphosis. The cult of Mithras just flourished in the Roman Empire from about the 1st to the 4th centuries, mostly among soldiers, merchants, administrators.
It makes so much sense that a god whose core function is the contract would appeal to the military.
Of course.
Their entire world runs on loyalty, oaths, and discipline.
Precisely. And Roman Mithras is fully male, a heroic figure whose defining moment is the tauroctony, the ritual bull slaying.
Right, that famous image.
That image is a dramatic, symbolic sacrifice of a cosmic bull, which leads to creation and fertility. It's an act of violence, but it's violence done to uphold cosmic order.
Which is just a militarized, bloody version of the original Iranian moral contract.
You've got it. It's the same idea in a new, much more violent uniform.
What strikes me, though, is the change in setting. The Iranian Mehr was about the open field, the rising sun, upholding contracts in daylight.
Truth.
Roman Mithras was worshipped in secret, underground temples. The Mithraea. Why go underground?
The underground temple reflects the initiatory mystery aspect of the cult. It mirrors the darkness of the cave where the bull slaying supposedly happened. It's all about rebirth and separation from the everyday world.
So they traded public truth for secret salvation.
A perfect way to put it. And we should quickly mention, before we move on, the Sasanian attempt to reverse all this.
Oh, right. They tried to reclaim it.
Yes. Later, the Sasanian Empire, knowing about the Roman distortion, sometimes depicted Mithra with intentionally ambiguous gender features. They were actively trying to restore the deity's original Iranian fluidity. It was a clear message. This deity is ours, and he's not just your Roman hero.
Wow. So just to synthesize this all before we connect it to the bigger picture. In ancient Iran, Mehr was the fluid, luminous guardian of contracts.
Right. In Vedic India, Mitra was a masculine partner, upholding Ata.
And in Roman culture, Mithras was a secretive, heroic, and fully male solar savior.
And what's so fascinating is that the core light metaphor, the sun, it never dies. Even after the cult declined, the iconography, that radiant solar crown, the Sol Invictus title, it all persisted. It influenced secular symbols of monarchy, liberty. I mean, even the Statue of Liberty has that solar crown.
The light of truth found 1,000 new forms.
It really did.
So what does this all mean when we talk about the big picture? Let's address the elephant in the room. The powerful connections and parallels between Mithraism and the development of early Christianity.
The crucial context here is that we're not talking about direct borrowing. It's not that simple.
Right, it's not a copy-paste situation.
No. Both Christianity and Mithraism were flourishing in the same cultural melting pot of the Roman Empire. They were drawing ideas and symbols from the broader Near Eastern world. They were competitors, but they were using the same cultural toolkit.
And the shared motifs are they're compelling. Let's start with the most visible one, the light and savior identity.
Mithras was celebrated as Dos Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. Now compare that to early descriptions of Jesus in the Gospel of John as the light of the world, or the title Son of Righteousness.
It's the same universal human idea that light equals spiritual truth.
Exactly. And then there's the symbolic date that has shaped the entire Western calendar, December 25th.
Mithras' birthday.
Some Roman Mithraic traditions celebrated it as his birth. It's tied directly to the winter solstice, the point when the sun begins to wane and the days get longer, the rebirth of the sun. Roman Christianity later adopted this date for Jesus' birth.
But it's not that they stole the date, necessarily. It's that both religions saw the immense cultural power of the solstice.
Exactly. They were both tapping into a much older, widespread symbol. We also see parallels in their rituals, like the sacred meal.
Right. Mithraic initiates shared a ritual meal, symbolizing their unity and salvation.
And early Christians, of course, had their communal agape feasts and the Eucharist. It just reflects a shared Mediterranean idea that divine nourishment and community were essential for spiritual life.
And if we zoom out again and connect this back to Iran, even the basic structure of divinity seems shared.
Well, this raises an important question about divine triads, doesn't it?
Hmm.
The Christian concept of the Trinity developed in a world where divine structures often came in threes, including that Iranian triad we discussed, Ahura Mazda, Mitra, and Anahita.
The very context for thinking about God was already shaped by these pluralist structures.
And to bring it full circle, back to the very first definition we established, the linguistic root of Mithras, contract. That idea resonates so profoundly with the core of both Jewish and Christian faith.
The covenant.
Absolutely. The foundational Hebrew and Christian idea of the covenant, that sacred binding agreement between humanity and God, it maps almost perfectly onto the Iranian meaning of Mitra as the divine guarantor of moral obligations.
The profound realization here is the durability of that concept. Whether you call him Mehr, Mitra, or Mithras, that core function, the divine light guaranteeing truth and order, is the contract that survived 3,000 years of change.
Mehr's story really reveals a few key truths about how we build and adapt belief systems. First, that mythology is incredibly fluid. It changes with geography, politics, social power.
And the fact that gender could change so dramatically proves that.
It does. Second, the transformation from a more fluid or feminine deity to a masculine god mirrors how patriarchal norms can actively reshape cosmology.
Third, and this is crucial, Iranian heritage is a globally influential wellspring. It informed not just India and Rome, but the very symbolic vocabulary that early Christian thinkers adopted.
And finally, that the light metaphor is truly universal. Across every identity this deity took on, sunlight remained the unwavering symbol for truth, justice, and spiritual awakening.
The continuity of that core function across Mehr's immense journey, it just shows how powerfully myths migrate and how deeply interconnected our cultural histories really are.
The continuity is the contract.
He starts as the guarantor of ethical contracts and ends as the guarantor of spiritual enlightenment.
It's the same job, just on a different plane. And the final provocative thought for you to consider is this. If the most radical aspect of Mehr's identity, his gender, could shift entirely to accommodate a new cultural need, like the military discipline of Rome, what does that imply about the flexibility of our own most cherished modern concepts of divinity or morality when they encounter entirely new social structures? Perhaps, for the myth to survive, nothing is truly fixed.